It took the convincing of the family members to get my parents to agree to keep me. Everyone knew I wasn't loved or wanted by my parents, and it was my worst experience while growing up. Whenever I had fights with my cousins, they always yelled about how my parents hated me. My parents weren't helping matters either. They would go for family gatherings and parties with just my brother. When people asked about me, my father would say,
"Why should we care? She should watch over the house. We didn't ask the universe for her."
I managed to grow up in the midst of such discrimination. Two years ago, my parents disowned me. Was it sad for me? Not in any imagination. I was filled with happiness when they did. My name is Reina, and I'm 25 years old. I was born into a family where the male child was valued the most, and it wasn't even hidden. My elder brother Jude was born 3 years before me. According to what I was told by my elder cousins, my parents didn't want me when they discovered my gender. It took the convincing of the family members to get my parents to agree to keep me. Everyone knew I wasn't loved or wanted by my parents, and it was my worst experience while growing up. Whenever I had fights with my cousins, they always yelled about how my parents hated me. My parents weren't helping matters either. They would go for family gatherings and parties with just my brother. When people asked about me, my father would say,
"Why should we care? She should watch over the house. We didn't ask the universe for her."
I managed to grow up in the midst of such discrimination. My brother wasn't intelligent, so he didn't do well at school. He finished his high school education 2 years before me, but because he couldn't get into college as a result of failing the entrance exams continuously, I got into college before him. My father was jealous of that. As a result, he asked me to drop out of school.
"You have to leave school. Jude is a man. He should be in college first."
But he can't get in. He's not brilliant and can't pass the entrance exams. I passed, so why should I drop out because of him?
"How dare you think you have the right to question my decisions? Who do you think you are?"
Wow. Unwanted children should soak in depression, not be confident.
Usually, in cases like this, the mother supported the girl child who was unloved. But my mother was a different person. She would agree to every word my father uttered. To her, too, a girl child was useless. Once, when I'd accidentally broken a plate, she told me how she hated me.
I regret birthing you. I hate you so much, you stupid child. The other women have only boy children. Why were you given to me? How dare you break my plate?
It was just a plate. I wondered why she said so many hurtful things. When my father returned home that night, she reported to him and made sure he disciplined me through beating. So, when she called me an unwanted child that day, I wasn't surprised. I insisted on not dropping out for my brother.
"Well, if you won't drop out, pay your fees yourself."
Pay everything yourself, stupid child.
I had no idea where I would get the money to pay, but I boasted that I'll find my way without them. Fortunately for me, 2 days later, a scholarship program was announced. I immediately hopped on it and requested to take the exam. I knew I was very intelligent, so I was sure of securing a spot. However, a twist happened when it was suddenly announced that only 2 people would be picked from my college, instead of the initial 10 that was said in the announcement. I was worried throughout the week. My college was known for breeding very brilliant students. I knew it would be a huge competition. Since they were only going to pick 2 people, I decided to forget about being among those 2. How on earth was I going to beat the numerous brilliant ones to win a spot? I was shocked when 2 days later, I was informed that I was the first of the 2 students who were picked for the scholarship. I was surprised. It was all like a dream until I signed the agreement to be sponsored throughout my college education. I burst into tears afterward, unable to contain my emotions. When I got home and announced the news to my parents, I could see the jealousy in their eyes.
Should that make us happy? Is it new to you that we don't care about whatever happens in your life?
Our son can't pass his entrance exams, and you managed to pass and even get a scholarship. Don't you think it's insensitive of you to tell us about that?
Insensitive? I couldn't understand how it could be termed insensitive to share good news. Anyway, I retired to my room that night. 2 weeks later, my parents came to me with a strange request.
"We were thinking about going to your school first, but Jude thought it would be better to speak to you first."
Why? Is there a problem?
Well, I'm going to be straight with you. Your father and I want you to give up the scholarship for your brother.
We think he deserves it. We plan to borrow some money. We're going to use that to sponsor you ourselves.
I knew the exact reason they requested that. My parents loved to boast. If my brother got the scholarship, it would be a great honor to them. However, I got it instead. My parents can't tell anyone that their unwanted child had the scholarship, so they thought of a better way to boast with it, and that came up. Well, I'm sorry, but it's impossible to do that. Jude isn't brilliant to start. Secondly, it's impossible to give my scholarship to him.
Who are you to say that? We're going to your school to confirm. Fool.
We'll go to the college ourselves to make the request. It was a mistake coming to you.
True to their words, they were at my school the next day to request a switch. To their disappointment, they were given the same response. It was impossible to switch the spots. My parents went home disappointed and pissed at me because the school's president praised me for being a great student. Surprisingly, 2 months later, Jude suddenly got admitted into my college. I had no idea how that happened, but he did. Even worse, the few cousins who still found me worthy told me about my parents boasting about my brother's supposed scholarship into my school. I was confused, but I brushed it off. I also didn't think about how he got in anymore. All I was focused on was how to maintain my scholarship. I managed to scale through college. Throughout our years of being in college, not everyone knew we were siblings. My brother ignored me like I was a plague. He also was known for spending lavishly. We weren't wealthy, but we were doing well. However, with our status, my brother wasn't supposed to have that luxury. In his second year, my parents got him a car. I was shocked. All I could think of was where and how they got the money. As if my brother's case wasn't enough, my parents were also spending insanely from the moment my brother got into college. They went on vacations, shoppings, and even bought unnecessary things. Of course, I wasn't given the luxury. On my graduation, my parents bought me a dress worth $8,000. According to them, they'd kept that money aside to surprise me on my graduation. I couldn't believe my ears. Seeing my parents smiling at me and speaking to me softly was scary. However, with a little more affection at my graduation, I thought it would be fair to accept them. I concluded that they were sorry about their actions and that was the best way they could think of an apology. However, to my utmost shock, they returned to their old ways immediately after my graduation. I was disappointed. Nevertheless, I went on with my life. I managed to secure a well-paying job 2 months later. Of course, my parents knew about it. I was confused when, 3 months later, I got a call from a student loan organization requesting to see me in their office. I was curious and confused, so I honored their call the next day. On getting there, I was asked how I was going to pay my loan. Loan? What loan? I never took any loan. You can imagine my surprise when I was informed that my parents took a student loan of $250,000 in my name 4 years ago. They'd lied about them not being able to afford my fees and promised to pay the loan once I got a job. I was also told that my parents had called them to inform them that I'd gotten a job and it was time to take the loan from me. Furious, I left the office and went straight home. How could you both do this to me? Where do you expect me to get $250,000? You could have aborted me if you didn't want me, rather than put me through pain all my life. I knew the money they'd been lavishly spending since Jude got into college was the loan they took. They didn't use it for me. How could they lie?
Well, have you forgotten so soon that we spent $10,000 on you for your graduation?
Oh, that? I'll pay for that. But I will not pay the rest of the loan. Never! I left the house, ignoring their threats, and headed back to the loan company. I explained everything to them and made them know I was only going to pay for the $8,000 they spent on me. The loan company refused and asked that we settle our difference and decide who would pay. I knew things weren't going to go well in that situation, so I got myself a lawyer and we filed a case against my parents. They were furious when they found out.
How dare you file a case against your own parents, you evil child?
Well, how dare you take such a huge amount of loan in the name of your own just for the sake of your favorite child? I'm human too. Do you think I don't feel bad about how you both treat me?
Well, if you feel bad, leave our lives.
Yes, take your unfortunate self out of our lives.
If you're finding it hard to do that, I'll make it easy. Henceforth, you cease to be my child. You don't belong to this family anymore.
Well, thank you. I never did anyway. With that, I stormed out. The case got into court, and after about a week, it was decided that my parents would pay their share while I pay my $10,000. I got myself a comfortable apartment and moved out of their house. My parents had to sell their house and move to a smaller one to pay half of the loan. Jude quit college. Apparently, my parents had bribed his way in and were also paying to promote him. Since there was no money anymore, he was forced to get a menial job. Meanwhile, my mom got a job as a nanny, where she earned $200 per month, and my dad got a job as a security guard. From what I hear, Thief beat the hell out of him one night and even broke his leg. Every month, the loan company took 99% of their salaries, leaving them to feed on peanuts. Until the remaining $230,000 was paid, they would have to work their ass out. I was able to pay mine after a year, and I'm a free lady now, enjoying the fun of life without my parents and brother. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.